Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. I am here to announce another live celebration Bond event coming up on July 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern. That is the start time, 10 a.m. Eastern. And what an event we have for you. Now you know, I think by now, how we do these events. These are sit at home, be comfortable. If you're in a lockdown situation, these are the perfect escape moments. They really are. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. No matter what country, no matter what city, state, province that you're living in, you've got stresses with your job, your family, a pandemic. And this is our way for the Bond community to connect with each other, but to also for about 6 to 7 hours, escape. Get out of our headspace and just enjoy Bond. And Operation Freefall is exactly that. It's about a day-long celebration of enjoying the Bond franchise. Now, right away, we've got to kind of shoot an elephant in the room. Gosh, that was terrible. Sorry, Peter. We've got to talk about something. It was called Operation Waterfall before, but now we've changed it to Operation Freefall. Every time we have these online events, we name them based on the panel discussion content and also a lot of the times the environment that we're in from a thematic standpoint. Waterfall was going to be something that we were actually going to be a part of a location. Well, we're hoping to do that in the future, but because of our situation right now, obviously nobody's going anywhere. But Freefall, what does that even mean? It's a sudden loss of gravity, where suddenly you're in space falling. Not literally in space like Moonraker, but just falling, like, well, the beginning of Moonraker. Well, there we go. But this is really what it's all about. Right now, many of us feel like we're in a free fall situation, but the nice thing about free fall is if you gain control, it can be an exhilarating experience. And that's what we're hoping Operation Freefall is. All right, couple notes, couple housekeeping moments. On Facebook right now, we have our events page up. Many of our panelists are also co-hosting the Facebook events page. That's simply a wonderful place to get tons and tons of information as time goes on over the next 2 weeks for you to gather more information around Operation Freefall. Who's it going to be? What are the panelists going to be talking about? And yes, the link, the link. We are going to have this as a part of the Bond Experience channel YouTube Live. So it's a YouTube Live where you get to go in the chat room and ask questions and be a part of the action. Ask questions, interact, etc. with our panelists who will be beamed in to the YouTube Live. So there's no registration. You literally have to click on the link. If you want to click on the link beforehand and subscribe, get notifications, that's even better because you'll find out the moment all these new things come to bear. All right. So what's comprised of Operation Freefall? What can we expect from this Bond experience? Well, a couple things you need to know. All of the panelists and all of the subjects that we're going to be talking about were requests. We've done this before. We've had a couple of these operations. And many times afterwards, I get somebody pinging me saying, David, it would be great if you did this or did that, or this person would be a great speaker. And there's a couple characteristics of the panelists. It's not enough that they're subject matter experts. It's not. Because quite frankly, they have to hold a conversation. They have to host a discussion, an experience for 55 minutes. That's not easy to really just kind of connect when they have nobody to connect on. So we made sure that we had 2 individuals for each panels that not only were subject matter experts on what they're talking about, but they could dialogue. They could have a conversation, they could interact, they could host, they could pull you in and involve you. No easy task. It's being a host, basically. All right, so here we go. At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, for the first hour, I'm going to be doing the opening. And most of that hour is comprised of a discussion with myself interviewing David Arnold. Yes, by far one of the fan favorite composers. I mean, you've got John Barry, you've got David Arnold. And David Arnold and I are going to be talking about all things Bond, his journey, and yes, point in time. What does he think of Bond? What are the types of impact moments? And how does he create those as a composer? There are so many new stories and new tidbits. I know you're going to love that first hour, but that's the preheat, everybody. That's the opening to get everybody involved. And what I loved about the conversation with David Arnold is, first and foremost, he's a fan. He's a fan. I know that he's a revered composer. We love what he's done, but the reason why he's been so successful and such a fan favorite is we can smell fans. And he lives and breathes James Bond and still has an incredible amount of passion for it. All right, from there, from 11 o'clock to 12, we've got the Stunts of James Bond. We've got Chris Wright and John Auty, and the two of them are going to be bringing us so many different aspects of the James Bond stunts. Let's face it, without the stunts, without real-time events like this, James Bond would be much less than it is. Would it even be James Bond without the amazing stunts and perils? Well, they're going to be highlighting the people and the stunts themselves. Chris Wright, you know, from James Bond Radio, and John is an expert, really, truly a subject matter expert on stunts in general, but in particular, boy, does he own the corner of the world of James Bond stunts. I think you're going to love what they bring to the table. Then, from noon Eastern to 1 o'clock, we've got locations. Yes, this was a fan favorite request to have a panel about the locations. How do we get there? What's the journey? How do you discover them? What's the shock and awe of it? Well, there's no two better people than Martijn, Mulder, and Ajay. Now, the two of them, and by the way, maybe we'll finally find out how to pronounce their names. Who knows? Anything goes on this. But I think they're going to be showing us a lot of visuals and a lot of locations and talking about the hunt. And what is that satisfaction with locations? And again, when you think of James Bond locations, those two individuals spring to mind. They're going to host that 55 minutes. And you know, it's going to go in a blink of an eye. From 1 o'clock to 2, we've got James Bond literature. We've got Ajay Chowdhury, and we've got, you're going to love him because you've heard him before on my show and a couple of other shows, Jeremy Duns. Yes, the two of them, accomplished authors in their own right, but huge fans of both James Bond and the franchise, but also Ian Fleming. So what they're going to bring to the table, I know, is a uniqueness, you know, both of the fabric being woven of authors themselves and accomplished ones at that, but also talking about the literature of James Bond. I don't want to give you any more because what they're going to be bringing to the table, I think, is going to be both informative, educational, fun, entertaining, and they're going to be taking your questions and making you a part of this interactive moment. All right, and yes, I'm cheating, all right, because I haven't gotten this down pat. From 2 o'clock to 3, another big fan request. We've done, oh gosh, we've done lifestyle moments, we've done style in the past, we've done clothing, but everybody kept saying, David, watches. Watches are such an indelible, branded part of the James Bond franchise and even literature. We couldn't think of two better people to bring to the table than the urban gentry, TGV himself, in a live event with Brian Dobson of James Bond Radio. So, wow. And Brian Dobson can wax poetic about James Bond watches until the cows come home. And of course, TGV, the urban gentry, is one of the greatest known individuals on YouTube around horror culture, and not just James Bond, but all things with military watches. So the mix between the two is going to be fascinating. And that's the part that I want everybody to look for. This is an online convention, which means you can walk in and out of the room. It's why we put the schedule up below in the link. But picking and choosing, I think the biggest interesting thing is, what is the dynamic? What's the synergy between the two hosts of each panel? But it's not over yet. No. I call this the afterglow. Well, maybe. So from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to bring all the panelists back, the ones that are still awake, and maybe a few guests, a few secret guests, to talk about No Time to Die. This is a general conversation. We'll be answering tons of your questions, but the panelists will be talking to each other. Expectations, you know, what drives them forward, their passion. There'll be a host of different questions and topics that we'll talk about, but it's basically the afterglow of it. And there may be a few surprises and connection points that we don't want to divulge because we want you to still drink this up. Okay, so what should you be doing right now? Pay attention to all the individuals that I talked about, their Instagram, their Facebook, their YouTube. Over the next 2 weeks, you'll be seeing more and more information. Other than that, this is so simple. Show up. You've got the link to the YouTube channel. You've got the link to the Facebook event page if you want to raise your hand and say, I'm going. There's also an opportunity in the Facebook event for you to have a discussion. Talk to other people that are going. What are you going to be doing? What kind of libation are you going to be drinking? Are you going to be sitting at home? Are you in a bed? Are you multitasking? Are you on the go? Whatever it is, be there. We'd be so honored and happy for you to be a part of Operation Freefall. So that's enough for now. Just wanted to kind of paint this picture. We'll see you there. There'll be more information. This has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you July 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern right here on the YouTube channel. See you then. And dress as you are. You can even wear a robe. Talk to you then. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.